So I'm not allowed on your property. You don't want me there. So you don't want me anywhere on your property.
So don't ever come there.
So you don't want me there.
What about the section outside?
You don't want me anywhere on your property.
All right, welcome back everyone. I just want to, this is more of a rant than anything. So I had several instances lately that made me want to release in this video and really talk about this subject. So most of the people that know me know that I'm a huge proponent of not trespassing on property. I'm all about finding the property owner, getting a hold of them, and getting that permission to actually enter that property. Whether it be urbex, historical locations, whatever. There's county property records out there online. It's easy to search for it. Contact the owner, give them a heads up, let them know what you're doing there. And I even provide waiver of any liability forms if they want them. I have yet to have anybody even ask for that, even though it probably is smart for them to do that. So, I go into all the urbex locations that I've shot online on my photography page. Always have permission from the owner to step foot on that premises unless it was outside shooting at the building. But, so I had an instance where, locally, so I go to I'm in York County, so I go to Wrightsville, PA, and everything's closed down because of the coronavirus. So I see there's a guy out front of the Wrightsville Historical Society. He's out there mowing the lawn, trimming the hedges. So I just walk up to him, I introduce myself, tell him how, my interest in history and photography, video, so forth. And, he tells me it's closed right now, but this guy, he actually loved history as much as I did. So he actually said, let me put this hedge trimmer down that I'm using. Let me put this thing down and take you inside and show you what this place looks like and start showing you stuff. So he took, I think I was in there for almost 2 hours. I felt terrible, but he kept saying, no, I love talking about this. I love showing the history. I love showing you what we have available here in this town. So we ended up going in that museum, in that society, and just going through, endless conversations on the history of Wrightsville in that area. And it was just an incredible place and incredible people working down there. Now, to contrast that to some of the phone calls you see me making at the beginning of this video, I run into the situation where I'm contacting local historical societies, and they're denying me access to the land. They're even saying, I'm talking about open air places, not even coronavirus concern. For whatever reason, they're saying, no, we don't want you on a property. We don't want you filming. We don't want you taking pictures. What are these places here for? Is preserve history. If you go to some of these historical societies pages, so for instance, one of the local historical areas I approached about me doing some video work there, I didn't even want to film this site. I wanted to film some areas around the site. So I was expressly denied access to that. They basically told me to stay off their property. And you go to their website, this historical preservation, and it says that their goal is to preserve and present basically the history of that area. So you go to the website for this location, and it's specifically written on their website that preserve is set up for the preservation and presentation of the history, architecture of that era. So it's meant for cultural and artistic gatherings, and I've heard they denied any other type of wedding events, things like that, and they're specifically keeping it for artistic and cultural gatherings. But at the same time, no, they don't want you on that property. They don't want you back there. I have no idea what they're preserving it for. There's something else going on there I don't get. So you have that. You have another historical society I hit up recently after the Wrightsville, thinking, well, if Wrightsville's going to let me in, maybe maybe I can talk to some historians in other areas. No, same deal. Don't want me on the property. We'll call you eventually. They specifically expressed concerns about me portraying them as giving out false information when all I did was request to do research at their facility. So, I did tell them I have a YouTube channel and I do historical videos and stories, but for them to come back at me like that is just very odd.
Is it just me?
These are locations that were put out there to preserve and share history. My whole rant is, what is up with historical societies? What's going on? Why don't they want people there? Why would they not want to make history interesting to people out there? You know, I go back to what inspired me as a kid, you know, watching Indiana Jones. Yeah, if you look at a lot of the things they were saying, it was mixed with storytelling and some factual historical events. I recently found Justin Jacobs of the American University's professor there. He wrote a book called Indiana Jones and History. I need to get that book. I've only read excerpts from it online, but the excerpts were fascinating. But yeah, so Indiana Jones, I mean, that was, as a kid, inspiring me to want to get into, you know, history and research, you know, archaeology, that whole thing. Indiana Jones did that. Yes, a lot of the things weren't factual. Yeah, Hitler was into the occult, but was he searching for the Ark? Probably not. When you look at some of the transcripts from Lucas talking about, you know, where he was inspired by a lot of, you know, Raiders of the Lost Ark, it was a couple books out. But the books Chariot of the Gods, The Spear of Destiny, you know, if you look at Indiana Jones, a lot of them are based around these books, which were not factual at all. But they were interesting. It was very interesting, very you know, fun to watch, and really got a lot of people into history back then when Indiana Jones came out in the whole series. So, you know, when I was a kid, I remember watching Indiana Jones, and then I remember going out to dinner, and we went to this place that had placemats with old, you know, pictures of the area way back. You know, there were old houses, old buildings that I wasn't sure really existed. And I actually wrote about this on one of the photos I did on my Instagram page, my photography Instagram page, which I'll link down below. A lot of that page is really inspired by history and the locations that I shoot. But I wrote because somebody once said to me recently that I'll eventually get sick of shooting historic and urbex locations and I'll move on. But the fact is, I remember sitting down at dinner seeing that placemat of those old buildings, and my dad actually asked the manager of the restaurant if I could have a copy for myself, so he gave me one. I spent weeks after that on my bike with friends. We called ourselves the Explorers Club. We spent weeks searching down locations on that placemat to see if some of those buildings existed. And we ended up finding some that were hidden away in the woods. Most of them are gone, unfortunately. But that began my love of history, and it all started with, you know, Indiana Jones and just exploring my local area. So I don't know what's going on with historical societies. I don't know what's happening with historians. You seem to have, particularly that one historian, saying that they were concerned about me misrepresenting full or true information being released from that historical society when I was specifically going there to research actual information about the place. I provide references in any of my videos, and I speak about what facts are known to me. Now, I do like storytelling. There's always, you know, lore involved in a lot of fascinating stories, so I love storytelling as well. But hearsay was a specific term that this historian used, saying they see a lot of hearsay. Now, I mean, what history is not hearsay? I guess in the actual definition of hearsay, it doesn't match with what they call documented history, but history, in essence, to me, I would argue, is hearsay. You're reading something that somebody said they saw, that's hearsay to me. Yes, it's documented, but anyhow, what is going on with history snobs? What is going on with historical societies right now? They're not doing very well for the kids coming up that want to learn this stuff. There's not even really too many inspirational movies out right now that can compete with the likes of Indiana Jones. So what's going on with history lately? And thanks for listening.